So there'll probably be people who continue to wander in for the next 5 or 10 minutes, but I think since it's time, we'll get started because we have a lot of interesting things to talk about tonight. I'm Linda Hickey. I am the faculty director of the One Book, One Northwestern program, and I'd like to welcome all of you from both the Northwestern and the Evanston communities for coming tonight. Yeah. I'll just turn up the volume. Is that better? Is that too much? There you go. Okay, so I'll just repeat what I said. I'm Linda Hickey. I'm the faculty director for the One Book, One Northwestern program this year. And as you all know, our book is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And we are very fortunate here to have members of Henrietta's family to talk tonight. And I'm going to let our moderator introduce them. But before I introduce our moderator, let me remind you that one of our more successful One Book events is actually what we call the Immortal Art Project, which is outside. And the idea is that you take some of the ink and make your thumbprint and initial your thumbprint with your initials a la Gila. So, for a capital letter of your first name, second letter of your first name, capital letter of your last name, second letter of your last name. So we've had quite a collection traveling around all campuses, and we're going to put together all of these scrolls in an exhibition at the Block Gallery in Spring Quarter. So we're going to have our own Immortal Art exhibition to go with the One Northwestern One Book program. So it's my pleasure to introduce Yvonda Thomas. And Yvonda, I first met because we recruited her as a community member of our One Book planning committee this year. She is the director of the Evanston Public Health Department, and she has spent over 22 years as a health sciences or a public health advocate. She began her career in the trenches as a public health nurse and a hospital liaison beginning in 1996, where she worked for the Chicago Department of Public Health before coming to Evanston in 2005. Yvonda has been a driver of community health issues in Evanston, focusing on education and wellness programs and interventions related to chronic disease management and prevention. And although we didn't know this when we asked her to moderate this program, it turns out that she also hosts a TV program, an Evanston community television program, The Health and Wellness Journey. And we are truly grateful for her help here today in agreeing to help with our discussion with David Lacks and his daughter, Jerry White. And I'll turn it over to Yvonda now to introduce our guest for the evening. Thank you, Yvonda.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm excited to be here to have this powerful discussion, and I'm really excited to see all of your faces in this room, as the Lacks family is excited as well. Well, let me introduce you to our rock stars that are on the stage this evening. David Sonny Lacks, and I have been given permission to call him Sonny for this intimate dialogue. He has enthralled universities and library audiences across the country, talking about his mother, Henrietta Lacks, and the important contribution to science. Sonny's visit this evening has put a personal face to the big issues such as the dark history of experimentation on African Americans, the birth of bioethics, the legal battles over informed consent, and whether we control the stuff we're made of, and who should share the benefits and profits of that. But let's back up and talk about who Henrietta Lacks was. She was a poor black tobacco farmer whose sales were taken without her knowledge in 1951. But her cells went on to become the first immortal human cells ever grown in a laboratory. Those cells are nicknamed HeLa. They became one of the most important tools in modern medicine, vital for developing the polio vaccine, cloning, gene mapping, and vitro fertilization, and more. But tonight, Sonny is going to share some stories with us to give us an intimate perspective of what he and the Lacks family experienced as this book was released. David Sonny Lacks, let's welcome him warmly with a hand clap.
Thank you. Thank you.
And not forgetting, Jerry Laxwide here's to support her father, and she's allowed to ask questions as he directs her. Let's give her a warm reception as well. This evening, I do have some specific questions that were submitted for Sonny to respond to. And so I won't get excited and forget the point of us all being here. I'm going to look at my guided questions from time to time, and we're going to have a discussion, and then there will be some opportunity and time for you, the audience member, to participate and ask them questions as well. So is that all right? Yes. All right, so let's begin. So, Sonny, as you've allowed me to call you this evening, share with us or paint a picture for us the relationship that you have with your siblings, and then share with us how Deborah was so instrumental in wanting to connect to your mother and connect to herself. Can you tell us a little picture about the sibling relationship?
Well, I can tell you a little story as far as me and my family is concerned. We are close. My sister Deborah and my brother Lawrence and my brother Zachariah, we always been close. We all live in Baltimore, and we all do things together. And Deborah was a person that had her own ways about things. She wanted to know so much about her mother and her sister. And she did research on her own, and then she asked the family, is it okay? She do a lot of research and look up things. And when Rebecca came along, that was a blessing for her, because Rebecca and her hooked up with Deborah to discuss everything. Me and my brothers, we didn't deal with Rebecca too much, we just didn't care about what she wanted to find out about, But she was persistent. She tried to meet me several times, and I tell her I'm coming and I don't show up. I was a street runner back then, so I'm always in the street.
Doing your own thing.
Doing my own thing, most definitely.
Okay.
But the relationship between Deborah and Lawrence and, like I said, my brothers, is close. We have a close relationship. And with my daughters and granddaughters, all of us have a close relationship.
Sure. Can you tell us about the time that Deborah was just so desperate and needed to find out more about your mother's cells and what they had done for science?
Well, Deborah was doing her research, and she found out about what her cells, we've been knowing about it for a while, but she found out about it. She just wanted to know the history about what the cells was doing, what the science was doing with her cells, and that was kind of bring her close to her mother, because only one that knew her, our mother, is Lawrence Lax, my oldest brother. He was 15 years old when she died. The rest was I was 4, and my brother and my sister was 1 and 1.5. But she just took hold of the idea to find out about her mother. It just became a session with her. She had to do research. She had to go places. And then, like I said, when Rebecca came along, it was just a blessing for her, because she got to travel with Rebecca, go places, do things together and everything. Now, her and Rebecca had their own little consultation every now and then, But she dealt with Rebecca, so that was a good thing.
Okay, so Rebecca Skloot, who is the author of the book,
yes,
is with us this evening. Would you stand, Rebecca?
Yeah.
And we thank you for being here. You spoke a lot about Rebecca Skloot, who is the author of the book. So can you tell us, was this a painful process? You speak about the relationship between Deborah and Rebecca, but as the book was coming together and written and released, was it painful or was it affirming for you? How did you feel about knowing all of the details that you later learned?
It was a good thing, because Rebecca did her research. She talked to a lot of people about the book and writing the book, and then it was a new experience for the family and everybody. It was just the idea that Deborah wanted to get out who the HeLa cells belongs to, Henrietta Lacks. They had the HeLa cells belongs to Helen Lane, Helen Lawson. They had different names. I was in Boise, and they had a doctor there said he's been working with her cells for 35 years, and he always thought that the cells belongs to Helen Lane.
Sure.
And he said when the book came out, that's when he found out who the cells really belongs to. So the relationship we had with Rebecca was close.
Excellent. Now, do you think there was something that maybe Rebecca didn't share? Is there some information that you think was missing from the book, and would you have written anything differently?
No, I wouldn't have written anything different.
She got it all, huh?
She got it all right. She got it out there. That's why I'm here now. She wrote it the way I think that it got out there where people wanted to know about the medical part about it and about the family part about it. So it was a good thing. Rebecca did her research. Mm-hmm. She did running around. There was a 10-year ordeal for her. She didn't give up.
Okay.
When you talk to older people like 85 and 90 years old and find out information about Henrietta Lacks and then find out information about the family, and yes, a good thing for an older person to remember 40, 50 years ago.
Right.
Because myself, I can't remember what I did yesterday, So that was a good thing there.
Okay. What would you want this audience to know about the legacy of Henrietta Lacks?
I guess they already have obtained that, from the book. Mm-hmm. Henrietta Lacks contributed to the world. She contributed, like you said, came about polio vaccine. Mm-hmm. Many things has come from her cells. So I guess that's the legacy within herself.
Sure.
So that was a good thing. She was a giving person when she was here.
Sure.
From all the information I found out. So I know she would appreciate this being a giving situation now.
Okay. Excellent. And you mentioned that there were some older folks who knew information that you didn't know because when she passed, you were 4 years old. Right. How are the different generations experiencing or talking about her legacy?
Well, like my daughter, because we didn't talk too much about my mother when my kids was born or Lawrence's kids was born. Because Lawrence, my brother, he get teary-eyed even now.
Talking about
our mother,
Mm-hmm.
I try to wonder why, because, it's something that happened 60 years ago, so he should be able to reveal mm-hmm. a lot of information that not only the public want to know, but his brothers and sisters. My sister tried to get him for years to talk about her mother, but he wouldn't open up to him.
Sure. And we talked about the author, Rebecca Skloot. And how does the fact that a white woman told the story affect you? How do you feel about that?
I feel real good about it.
Okay.
She told the story and told it the way that it's been other books written, like Conspiracy of Cells. This was written back in the 70s.
Okay.
And, it didn't get out like her book. She wrote it in a way where everybody can relate to it. They can understand the ethic. They want to understand the ethic part about it. They want to ask questions about it.
Sure.
So she wrote it in a way where people want to find out about themselves and their family.
Okay. So now that the story has been told, do you have or your family have a sense of relief or justification?
Yeah, we definitely have a sense of relief. It's the story's out there, and the story, like I said, is out there where everybody knows who's the HeLa cells belongs to, Henrietta Lacks. Mm-hmm. So that made us feel warm within ourselves, made us feel good.
That the connection was made.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So let's put ourselves in the mind of the researchers at Johns Hopkins. What do you think you would have done, if anything, different if you were in the position of the researchers?
Well, I couldn't answer that as far as what I would do, but I think you take it back in those times in the 50s, researchers was doing something where they thought was good for the medical field. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they was calling this keeping the identity of the cells, but they named it HeLa, or I guess I would say, I don't know if they made a mistake in putting a name to the cells, which they don't normally do, but I wouldn't do anything different because I know from the stories that I hear about my mother, that she would have still given herself for the research if she knew it was going to be
If she
research.
had known, you
right.
think she would have
Oh,
contributed
yeah.
herself?
She was a giving person.
Okay.
She was a giving person from what I understand from the people I talk to. I mean, they tell me stories about my mother all the time, you know. They tell me that people come up from Virginia, they'll stay with her. She'll cook for the peoples, you know. They stay at our house, and, you know, they tell me she was a giving person. So
Sure.
I felt good about that, you know.
Okay.
I felt good about people telling me stories, you know.
Sure. What story do you remember most that kind of plays over and over in your mind about your mother?
Well, I remember my brother telling me, you know, he used to go swimming in the from Turner Station where we used to live at, and Turner Station going to swim over from Turner Station to Bethlehem Steel, and he used to tell us that she was a strict person, and he'll come in the house soaking wet, eyes red, and talking about he ain't been swimming, and he ain't been nowhere, and he tell me his mother tear his little butt up, you know.
Okay.
She was strict, you know. So that's a good thing that she was a strict person.
Okay. So speaking of the researchers or doctors or nurses or medical professions, do you think you have a different view of the medical community because of how what your mom experienced?
No, I have a different view of it. I just think that the medical profession, when they examine a person, to at least let them know what they're doing to them, or let them know what they're doing with the parts of their body they're taking from them. You know, not like they did my mother. They took her cells and didn't let anyone know. You know, even after that, doctors came to our house and took blood samples from all of her children.
Sure.
You know, my sister and my brothers, and they never got back to us and told us what they was doing with it.
Sure.
I think if a medical profession should let a patient know what they're doing.
Sure. And when that happened, do you remember how that made you feel?
I'm a happy-go-lucky person all the time. I mean, anything that happens with me, it don't make me no difference.
Okay.
I'll check it out, you know, but it didn't make me feel bad until 2 years later, you know. We found out that they just was trying to find out did we have the same cell line that our mother had. So I don't have any attitudes about nothing I don't dislike, and I don't say that I don't trust doctors because, as you know, I went in the hospital for 5 bypasses.
Wow.
Hey, so doctors had to take care of that situation. So I ain't got nothing to do with that. They kept me here, so I'm good to go with that.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
so doctors are all right with me in my book.
Sure.
I went to the hospital. They had 5 bypasses at one time.
Wow.
And I was on the critical list, you know. So, like I said, they took care of me.
They
so
took
doctors,
care of you.
Doctors are all right with me. Believe that.
Okay, and your experience, your personal experience with your bypasses, has that shaped, or where does that come from? You said I'm easy-go-lucky. Does it come from how you were raised? Does it come from your faith? Where does that come from?
Well, I can't say where it came from because I was always a happy-go-lucky person coming up when I was young. Even when I was a kid, I was abused when I was a kid, but I still came up okay. You know, I like doing things. I like giving, you know. I talk to people, you know, and I meet people and talk to them at all times. Like I had an experience one time. I went into McDonald's to get me a hamburger and order French fries. And this young girl in there, and I had a Henrietta Lacks shirt on. And she was telling me she read the book and asked me who I was, right? And I told her I'm Henrietta Lacks' son.
Right.
She got to screaming. I said, "What's wrong with this little young girl?" Ran from behind the counter, get a napkin for me to sign. She can do that.
Wow.
I said, "I'm on my lunch break, young lady. Please come and give me my hamburger.
Right.
Give me
Get my
something to
food.
eat."
Right.
But it made me feel so good. It made me feel so warm inside that she did this, you know. And she wasn't no more about 17, 18. It just made me feel good to have so many young people involved into the story.
I was going to say, how do you feel when the younger generation, they recognize who you are and they've read the book? What does that make you feel like?
Make me feel good,
Yeah.
you know. Make me feel like I'm a movie star almost, you know.
I said we're a rock star.
Yeah, but it makes me feel real nice inside, you know. That's because every time I go somewhere, after I'm finished at the college or something, I always say, Well, I think that Rebecca, but she all right with me.
That's great. That's great. What do you think your father would say? Would he have the same kind of experience that you're having?
I think my father was a happy-go-lucky person too. I think he would. I think he wouldn't have said too much. He'd have been happy about this.
Yeah.
He'd have been happy about the whole situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, do you think that your mother would react the same way that you're reacting, knowing that her cells are still alive today?
Yeah, I think she would react. You know, like I said, from the stories they tell me, she was a giving person, and this was something given to the world. You know, not just to one person. Even if it was given to one person, it would be a good thing. But I think she would be really happy about it.
Sure, sure. Go back, if you can recall, your first meeting with Rebecca Skloot and kind of paint a picture for the audience about how that first encounter was like.
I don't know. I can't remember too tough because she tried to meet with me several times, and I disappointed her each time. Yeah, just said, oh, she didn't want nothing. Ask a couple questions. I just get there when I get there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got to talk to her, you know, a couple times. It was a nice experience. Okay. She just wanted information, you know. I guess a part of her gathering information about a book. So
sure, it
was okay.
Now, because your daughter is sitting right next to you, is there anything that you would want her to share with our audience?
I don't know. I usually don't let her talk that much.
I know. That's why I asked your permission
but
first.
I'll let her go ahead and give her input on everything.
No, I'm fine.
Go ahead. The audience want to know how, this is the grandchild, so they want to know how you would feel about it. Give your explanation about it.
No, I feel proud knowing that I'm part of a great legacy, a rich history. So, like we was discussing earlier, because my dad really didn't know his mom, so we really didn't know our grandmother. So now that the book came out, we're actually knowing who our grandmother is, and we can pass it on to the next generation, and the next generation can pass it on, and we try to keep this legacy alive since we knowing more about who Henrietta Lacks is as a person, who Henrietta Lacks is contributed to the medical part, more about the Lacks family. And
See now, if I was Deborah, I would have had some questions to ask her. Deborah's the type of person, but ask her the questions and answer them at the same time. But I can't think of none right now. I don't have that goal like she did.
That's fine. So if Deborah were here in the room, what would she share with our audience?
They wouldn't have enough time. She would share a lot, you know. You don't have to even come up with the questions. She'll come up with the questions for you, and then she'll answer it.
Okay.
And then she'll try to explain to you why she came up with it.
Okay.
You know? So she would be, thrilled to have a beautiful audience like this, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of our audience, I've asked the questions that were specifically listed for me to ask, and so we want to have a further discussion. And so there may be some burning questions out there that I haven't thought of, that the team hasn't thought of, that we may be willing to ask at this time. So I'm going to ask my partner over there with the mic, if you do have a question that you would like to ask David Lacks, now is your time, and then we can have some further discussions. Yes, there's a question down here. Okay, I'll repeat the question. If you ask the question, I can repeat it.
Okay, I can talk louder too.
Okay, if you don't mind standing so I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
I just said how much I enjoyed the book. It's such a big story. It's such a big medical story. And in the beginning of the book, you get the feeling that the family, and with justification, has this resentment and anger because the medical community sort of pushed the family to the side. You didn't have to know that it was your mother. You didn't have to realize any of the profit that was realized by the medical community and the research community. And I'm wondering now that the book has gotten so much attention and the family has gotten so much attention, and obviously you have come to a place in your life of acceptance of just the good that your mother has done for society. Has the has the medical community or the research community, has anybody reached out and written to you or to the family and expressed what your mother has meant to their research as a result of the book?
So for the recording, the question is, has the medical community reached out to the Lacks family and shared what the contribution from Henrietta Lacks sales have given them? And has the researchers reached out to you and shared with you, the family, what the sales have meant to research?
A little bit, indirectly a little bit. Just like Morehouse College, they have Henrietta Lacks Day. Like John Hopkins now, they are reaching out since the book has been out. They are reaching out, doing the little things like, having Henrietta Lacks Day, Microscopic Day, and they doing a little something. As far as money is concerned, no one has given us any money as far as the researchers or the experience they have with the HeLa cells. Now, a few people are saying that it's wrong, but it feels just good for the contribution that the HeLa cells have done for the world. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, I would like to have a lot of money in my pocket laying on the beach now. I ain't got that old. I can't enjoy money right now. But it just feels good that what her cells have did for the world. But no, they haven't reached out to us. In certain ways they have, but just in that type of way of doing things. Because John Hopkins really didn't make any money off it directly. Indirectly, they probably made money off. But they doing little things to recognize the Lacks family. Because right now, if they would do something for us or give us money right now, they would open the door for everybody that they have used their tissues or something for, and they would be in a lot of lawsuits or something like this. So they're doing things indirectly. Like, for instance, they're trying to give us medical insurance, because right now, I don't even have medical insurance right now. The family don't. Some members of the family don't have medical insurance. But they're trying to find a way to give us medical insurance where it doesn't open the door for people coming in and taking advantage of the situation.
Another question I heard was, has it washed away the anger? Because initially you said in the book it was very clear that the family was very angry. So now, coming forward, has the anger diminished for the family?
Well, I wouldn't say it was anger. It's disappointment, and maybe some members of families still is angry about it, that really haven't did a lot of research on what's going on. But in the whole situation, I think the family is honored that people want to know the story about the HeLa cells and about the Lacks family, which is good. It was the way the book was written, whereas they want to know something about the family, and a lot of ethics parts wants to come out about the book. They want to know about that part of it,
Okay. Yes, next question. Sir, if you can stand, I'll repeat your question for the recording.
Yeah, my question, at the very beginning, with the comment about informed consent was made, I'm just curious. As I was reading the book, I was thinking about the exploitation that occurred at Hopkins, whether it was well-intentioned or not. And I'm curious about the book and the extent to which you, your family, consented to having your story told in a way that exposes quite a bit of some very intimate, personal kinds of moments, some very significant anger. And also, as a result of the book, there's a lot of information out there about the genetic makeup of the family as well, particularly in relation to insurance issues, future coverage, and things like that. I'm wondering if you could comment on that.
Well, I guess I can say that the book was written in a way, it disclosed a lot of information, but Deborah and members of my family gave that information to Rebecca. If they didn't want it to be revealed, they wouldn't have told her about the stuff they was telling her about. Like I said, that I didn't know my mother myself, so from Rebecca and Deborah's research, I learned a lot about my mother. So in a way, that was a good thing, good and bad things, and you ain't going to get a good story told about a family at any given time. So the good and bad stuff was the good part about it. I found out some bad things about my family and found out some good stuff about my family. So I think everything was good as far as the book was concerned. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Right here.
This is a wonderful opportunity to get to meet you. The book was just a fascinating experience to read. I work on medical ethics, one of my areas, and so just reading it raised all these issues of informed consent. So I want to thank you and thank your family and Rebecca for bringing this story. This follows up a little bit on the first question. What do you, as a son and granddaughter, feel that you deserve for the contribution that your mother made? Can you help us in some sense of what do you feel now, what you think should have been done back then? You've mentioned some small contributions now, but given the magnitude of what has been accomplished, what would be appropriate for your family, for your community, that would meet that sort of magnitude?
So let me repeat the question. So based on what we know, and based on what you've shared already, what do you think your family should receive as a contribution, based on the contribution that your mother gave to the community? What could you benefit from as a family, or what could your community benefit from that would be, in your eyes, acceptable based on what your mother contributed to science?
Well, I think my answer would be on that as far as what I can get back from this is that, like I said, the contribution that we are learning that our mother gave to science and to the world is reward enough that everyone know who the HeLa cells came from, Henrietta Lacks. Like I said, it would be nice if we could receive some kind of monetary from it, but it's just warm that and grateful and thankful that we know what her cells have done for the world. And what we feel about that is that it contributes to a lot, help a lot of people. So that within itself makes us feel warm. Everybody know who is Henrietta Lacks now. It's a good feeling. That's all I can say. Now, anything else come about, hey, believe me, I know I would love it, I know my family would love it too, but something's going to come about it sooner or later.
What about your daughter? How do you feel about that?
The younger generation, all they want is money anyway, the younger generation, they want to spend that money.
I wouldn't say that, but I would piggyback on what my father has said, as far as the family being compensated, just getting Henrietta's name out there. I mean, nobody knew who Henrietta Lacks was. I mean, she was like a secret. So now the world is getting to know, and it's just not only the medical side, it's everybody that's actually knowing who Henrietta Lacks is. And as far as being compensated, monetary, I'm not sure. I'm quite sure somewhere down the line, I know the family will be compensated. How, when, and for what, I'm not sure. But just looking at how they commercialize HeLa cells and how these pharmaceutical companies have made millions and billions of dollars off of HeLa cells. I mean, it's just kind of mind-blowing. And as far as how how the community can actually benefit, we all benefiting. We're benefiting from immunizations. We're benefiting from people doing the HPV vaccine, in vitro fertilization. So that's more than enough. I look at Henrietta Lacks as a person who gives life and gives hopes to millions.
Excellent. Could you tell us some of the things that you learned about your family?
Yeah, I can. You gonna have to stay a little longer though. All right, yeah. I learned a lot about my family. I didn't like parts of my grandmother or grandfather down the country. You know, from Rebecca writing the book and opened the door for me to do my research to find out about my family. I learned a lot about my family in Virginia. And I couldn't begin to tell you or where to start at. Because I actually didn't know my mother was from Roanoke, Virginia, until all this come about. I thought she was from Clover, Virginia. So it's a learning experience for me, too. And as I go along, I'm learning almost every week now. And from coming to interviews like this, I try to learn a little something, too, because I ask questions myself. But that was a good question. Thank you.
And just to add to her question, has family contacted you because this book has been released? Has anybody said, hey, I think I knew your mother, or I think I'm connected to you?
Yeah, a lot of people contacted us. We got the white laxes and the black laxes. And now we're getting together on the white laxes and black laxes. Before, it was a thing back then, back in the 50s, it was a racial thing. Mm-hmm. But things are picking up now. Like we had a family reunion last year. And I was surprised. We had a lot of white laxes there, That was surprising. Yes, sir?
Oh, yes, right here.
Okay.
Much respect for coming out, Mr. Lex. Just wondering, even with all the medical science, what really captivated me in the book was, the family, the personalities, and I was just wondering how, the rest of the family was doing right now, brothers, siblings.
The question is, how is the rest of the family doing? Your siblings and your brothers, how everybody's doing?
Everybody's doing okay, because we always been a close family. My older brother Lawrence, he still don't want to talk. My younger brother still have his attitude problems, And Deborah, like I said, she was a person had her own attitude, So everybody's doing fine in my family.
Thank you. Yes, right here and then right here.
Rebecca started, yes.
Yeah, one of the foundation, and I was wondering how come the money can't be donated to give insurance to the family.
Well, that's a legal question. I have to get a lawyer to answer that question for you. But it's the foundation is just getting started, it's just getting on its feet, So they've been helping the family. Some of the kids and my nieces and nephews receive, money from the foundation. I haven't even received money. I'm a tractor trailer driver by profession. My truck broke down, and I need, I think, $4,000 or $5,000 to get it fixed. And I submitted a letter to the foundation, and Rebecca said, "We're gonna help him send him some money. She don't want me to be out of work, So we have received money from the foundation, but it takes money, because the little bit of money probably the foundation has, if you got $100,000, it takes a student that much to go to college almost now. So we are receiving a little bit from the foundation, whatever they have right now.
Okay, thank you. And your question, sir. And let me repeat the question for the recording, okay?
I know we have at least 20 high school students in the audience right now, and because we're reading this book in our high school class, we want them to kind of be inspired to possibly go into science or science journalism. And I was wondering if the knowledge of HeLa cells has inspired anyone in your family to go into the medical profession or into research.
Has anyone in the Lax family gone into the medical sciences or research and have been inspired because of the book?
Yes. Courtney and Erica goes to Morgan College, and they are into the medical field. And then my granddaughter, Ayana, well, her mind's changed every day anyway, but she wants to get into the medical field. She's 13 right now, and she's really interested in it, and she reads about it, you know. So yes, few of them.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Your question?
What are since the book has been published, which is a couple years now, what new research has been going on using your mother's cells? I mean, what new things has the medical profession found, the scientific world found?
So what medical scientific research may be going on now since the book has been written? Are you aware of any research?
I'm not aware of any research, but I know that her cells is a launch pad for all or most research that's been done now. You know, so like I had one doctor tell me he's been studying the HeLa cells for years now. So I couldn't answer that offhand.
Question right here.
I know the book mentions that you guys got solicitations to do tests with your blood and whatnot. Do you continue to get solicitations from either researchers or physicians to do them? And how do you feel about them now?
In the book, your family was asked and solicited to have testing. And so is that going on now, and how do you feel about that?
Well, it's not going on now, but if they ask me now to test my blood, I will ask questions, not like I did before. That doctor came from Johns Hopkins and they drew our blood and I took tissues from them, and we didn't ask any questions. They took them and then they never got in contact with us. I have no objection to that, and I have no bad feelings about anything right now.
Question back there, the young lady in the pink. How has your life changed since Rebecca contacted you about the book?
Well, my life changed as far as dealing with Rebecca is concerned, and she wrote the book. My life changed. I get a chance to see the world. Let's put it that way. I get a chance to go places. I get a chance to talk about things that I didn't know at first. I'm learning as I go around the country.
Thank you. Yes, right here. Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, how many talks like this have you given, and how do you feel about giving these types of talks? Like, why do you do it?
How many talks have you given? Why do you do it? And how many have you done?
Well, I've been to, this would be the 7th college I've been to. And it's enjoyable and it feels warm to me to see so many people who wants to know the story about the HeLa cells. And why I do it, it's a good feeling that people want to listen to me talk, you know. Serious. It's a good feeling. You know, Rebecca done opened the door for us to do a little something besides sit home with me driving the tractor trailer. So I get a chance to see the world now.
Yes.
I was wondering if the publication of this book has brought your family together even more than it already was.
Has the publication of the book brought your family together even more than you already were together?
Well, we always was a close family. It brought our cousins closer together. Let's put it that way. You know, when they think something's going to happen, they're going to get close together then. But we have gotten a little closer, the cousins and the relatives in Virginia. Yes.
Sonny, does anyone else in the family go around and talk about Henrietta Lacks, or are you like appointed by the family, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'm appointed by the family because, like I said, they want to hear from the children of Henrietta Lacks. So my older brother, he still get teary-eyed. He don't like to talk about it. And my younger brother, like I said, he still got that attitude problem. And I've always been a people person. You know, I get along with everybody, and I don't mind talking to everybody.
Yes, this young man in the green.
I was just wondering, for a long time, your mother was called Helen Lane in a lot of publications and textbooks. Do you think that sort of lack of identity or true identity of your mother sort of stole something away
Your mother was referred to as Helen Lane, as you mentioned. Do you think that took some identity away from who your mother really was?
No, I don't think it took any identity away. I don't know the reason. Maybe they were just trying to hide that she was a black woman and that the cells come from her. I don't think it hid anything or did anything because it's like it's now. The story really came out who she really was. Henrietta Lacks, the person that gave the HeLa cells.
You mentioned that there might have been a chance that people might not have wanted to know she were a black woman. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, only thing I can say is that back then there was a situation where black and white didn't do things together, or let's say, like I can remember the times when we had to go. It's a black bathroom and a white bathroom to go to. So maybe it was a thing where they didn't want anyone to know that it was a black person that gave the HeLa cells, Henrietta Lacks, as opposed to Helen Lane. Because like I had a doctor, it said he'd been studying the HeLa cells for 35 years, and he never knew that it was a person named Henrietta Lacks. He always, just like you said, he always thought it was Helen Lane. You know, so I don't think it was taken away from nothing. I don't know if Helen Lane was a white lady or a black lady, you know, but it's the fact that the story got out, and it's been out for many and many years. And when Rebecca wrote her book, she just told the story in a way that everybody could understand what was going on back then and what happened as to the family. So I think the book was written real good.
Okay. We have a question right here.
I just want to say it's truly an honor to be, for one, to read about have read about your mother, and also to be in the same room as you and your granddaughter and your daughter. My question is, there were times when just reading a book, I had to step away, get a glass of water, and then pick it up like the next day because I was really emotional about the book and just learning more about your mother's story. My question is, what words of wisdom do you have for the next generation based on your experience and learning about your mother?
So what are your words of wisdom for the next generation based on your experience in learning about your mother?
Well, only thing I can say as far as the next generation, when you go to a doctor or a hospital and they examine you or they take any part of your tissue, you know, it's the thing isn't changed from then to now, because you can talk to a doctor and they can explain to you what they're doing or what they're doing with the parts of your body they're taking from you. You want to know what they're doing, and that's a good question you ask the doctor. Hey, you drawing my blood or you taking a part of my tissue? What are you doing? And make sure they explain it to you in a way where you can understand it.
Yes.
I really enjoyed the whole story and your family. So it sounds wonderful. And I'm wondering if your daughter could tell us some memories of Deborah, who I found just a fascinating.
Okay, now, Sonny, we're asking permission to ask Jerry. Can she tell us some stories of what she remembers about Deborah?
Okay, well, I'll let her speak. I can say one thing. She got a lot of beatings. Let's put it that way. So now she can go from there.
But Deborah, she was wonderful. She was fun to be around. She spoke her mind. I mean, if you get her wrong, she will set you straight. If she doesn't like something, she will let you know. She's not the type of person that will hold anything back. She enjoyed being around the family, going to holidays. I mean, if we'll tell Deborah, okay, Deborah, we're having a cookout at 2 o'clock. Deborah will be at your house at 12 o'clock waiting for you to prepare food. So she was an on-time person. She enjoyed coming to, just being around the family. Every year she used to go to my daughter's school because for Halloween, it's like they would walk around the neighborhood in their costumes, and Deborah, she would actually come. It was 3 years in a row. She would go, I think 3 years, been 3 years in a row that she actually went to their school and watched the girls march around. And she would have on her costume, and she would have like I think she was a witch or something, and she would have blood on her like on her face, and the kids would get scared because this was when they were in elementary school. But she was a real fun person. I really enjoyed Deborah, and I think she would just be beside herself, just seeing the publicity that her mother is actually receiving. I mean, she's finally getting the recognition that her and her brothers were trying to receive for years. I mean, even before the book came out, they was trying to get her mother recognized, but nobody would actually listen, right? Yeah. So.
And again, I say, I'm here to thank Rebecca in person. I thank her for that, the way she wrote the book, because she wrote the book in a way where everybody understands it and have feelings for it. So I really thank her for that. She's making all possible for me to see the world. Let's put it that way.
Well, we have a few moments, and because we've allowed you to ask the Lax family questions, Rebecca, would it be okay if the audience can ask you a question or two? Okay, so I'm going to have you stand. We're winging it now. This is the Oprah moment. Stand. So at this time, we have just a few moments, so we don't want to bombard our author. Rebecca Skloot is here. Do you have some questions specific to Rebecca, the author? Yes, I'm going to take this man right here.
Thank you. I'm a cardiologist, and so it's a great opportunity for me. The question I have, this book is about something that happened a long time ago, and we spent a lot of time talking about the ethics and the families, but, historically, I'm not a historian. I'm actually more interested in how we go forward, and so I don't think there's going to be a right or wrong answer to the question, but framed as when we take tissue or samples from people, and I'm not a researcher by nature, right now in this country, we do a lot to try to de-identify. The idea being that if I were doing research and having samples of cells from everybody in this room, and it so happened that somebody had cells like the HeLa cells, but I couldn't link it to an individual.
Okay, and your question?
The question is, what do you think should be the policy going forward? Because so much of the way this book has been framed about is the cells were taken without the permission, and the family hasn't gotten their due compensation. Going forward, what should our policies be about?
Okay, so what should our policies be about when tissue cell samples are taken from a patient?
That turn out to have commercial.
That turn out to have commercial value.
Hello. That's a big question, and I think that sort of my job as a journalist isn't necessarily to say this is what needs to happen. And I agree that the book is often framed as they took the cells without asking, the family didn't get any money, they should get. But my goal with the book was actually to sort of tell all sides of the story and lay it all out so that people could make up their own minds about what they think should happen. And so I can tell you that the one thing that I do know is, I've been traveling and talking about this book for years now, nonstop, and I've talked to patients, thousands and thousands of people who've had their cells used in research without their consent or with their consent, and the general public, and across the board, people just want to know what's happening, and I think that really the issue is more about disclosure than anything else, and I think that people get it. They know cell research is important. They want to help. They want to donate, and if you ask, they'll say yes, but if they find out after the fact that something happened that they didn't know about, especially when money's involved, then there's just an enormous amount of mistrust, and then you perpetuate these problems of distrust between communities and medical profession. And there was actually a study done recently that looked at what the public's attitudes about tissue research were. And basically it was if you ask, if someone asks your permission, are you in favor of tissue research? And it was like 90-something% said yes. And then the other question was, if they don't ask, are you in favor? And it was something like 27% said that they were in favor. So, and I think that the issue of commercialization, more than anything, really comes down in a lot of ways to healthcare. I think it's about our healthcare debate. What I hear over and over again is, here this woman's cells did so much for medicine, her family doesn't have health insurance. They don't have health insurance for a lot of reasons, and one of them is our healthcare system. And I think that, as a the response among science, from science is usually, well, everyone should donate tissues because everyone benefits. But we live in a society where everyone doesn't benefit. Instead, cells are used in research, often funded by taxpayers' dollars that are then turned into products that are then sold back to people, and not everybody can get access. So I think you'd hear a lot less about who should be profiting if everyone got access to the care. So I think it's such a huge, complicated issue that's tied up with so many big questions in society right now. But that's overwhelmingly what I hear from the public, is that that's really where people are, and that they just want their doctors to talk to them. And you talked about de-identified samples. There are a lot of big studies out there now where people know their cell numbers. Like, their cell numbers are anonymous, but they know I'm cell number whatever, and they get the papers that are published, they follow all the news reports, they know what their cells are doing, and they love it. And so I think there's been a movement toward that more and more in big studies.
Well, thank you. We only had time for one question, but I want to make sure that we acknowledge David Sonny Lax and Jerry Lax Wife for being with us tonight, and Rebecca Skloot. Give them a hand, please.
Yeah, thank y'all. I like this audience. I like this audience. Thank y'all very much. And thank you all for coming. And thank y'all for having me here. Me and my daughter and her husband, Tom Y, is
and please
honored.
stand, Tom.
He's another guy from Baltimore with us.
Stand, Tom.
Stand, Tom. Okay. Thank y'all very much.
I'd like to close also by thanking Yvonne again, in addition to the Lax family, for being our moderator. And I would like to remind everybody, if you didn't know, that Rebecca will be back again on January 26th at 4 p.m., giving the keynote lecture of the One Book, One Northwestern program. In addition, there are a large number of other events, and there's information right outside the door here on a number of other things that are happening. And we are having a book purchase and signing next door with a little reception in the room right here for all of those of you who can join us. So thank you again for coming.
How we do? We do okay?